to the Bayview Podcast with hosts Andrew Clark and Chris Emery. This is designed to be a discussion on all things life and faith. We hope this serves as a weekly resource and encouragement to you.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Bayview Podcast. I am your host, Andrew Clark, joined, as always, this week by Chris Emery. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Good to be here. How are you doing today?
I am well.
Yeah?
Yeah, rocking and rolling.
Bring it on. I'm glad that we dressed the same. We wore our Bayview gear.
Yeah.
So a little shameless plug. You know, Bayview gear is now for sale at the Resource Center in the main lobby. So come and get it. Although our guest today just called me, asked if I ordered Baby Gap size on purpose. I ordered Baby Gap. This is large. I'm just
been in the gym.
I'm large.
You've been in the gym,
pumping
dude.
iron.
Yeah.
Whatever. No comments, please. We don't need any comments on that. So, it's good to be here. Thanks for being with us today, each and every week. We look forward to this time with you guys. Just, you know what? Just to have conversations, and that's. I hope that's what you're here for. As the intro says, to kind of dialogue on things, life and faith, and what's going on. So, one of our favorite things is to have guests, though, and just to hear their story and just hear what God's doing in their lives and just all that good stuff. And so today we're excited to have with us. Now I think I know how to say your last name, Lance Kotrch.
Kotrch. You were
Kotrch.
very, very close.
Well, I own that I'm going to butcher it because I do that about every time.
Everybody does. It's not a problem.
But not just your, like anytime we have a name that's different, like I butcher it. So anyway, Lance, you and I met several months ago and just really had a cool connection. And so just do it out there if you'd be willing to come and be a guest because I just love your story. And so welcome.
Thank you.
Good to have you on the Bayview Podcast. Give us just kind of the quick current state of the union of, all right, where is Lance now? What do you do? What's your present look like?
Yeah. So right now, family and I live in Cadillac, Michigan, so just south of y'all. And I'm not from the South. I say y'all in soda. My wife makes fun of me. But church planter, so planting a church down in Cadillac. Been there for about a year now. And, loving it. Love the lakes, the water. And it's been fun, man. It's been a journey, but it's been great.
Cool. Very cool. So married, kids?
Married, yep. So married, it'll be 11 years this August.
All right.
And then we adopted 3 boys. And so Joseph, who was 16, Jared, who was 14, and Jackson, who was 11.
Okay. Wow.
Very
so you're in the throes of teenage world.
Yes. The joys of teenagers, driving, school when they don't want to do their homework. The joys.
It's good days where they eat more than you can buy.
Yes. They eat more than me, and they're a lot smaller. It's amazing.
They smell more than a shower can fix.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Always.
it's just all the teenage boy things, yeah. And they're the messiest creatures on the face of the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Creatures, that's a good word for them.
It's unreal. And I can say this, I've raised 2 of them, and one of them is in the room right now. So yeah, good days, man. Good days.
Awesome.
So Cadillac. So you're playing at church. Are you guys currently meeting? Or are you kind of in pre-launch phase still?
Yeah. So we're meeting with our launch team.
Okay.
So we have a established launch team. Right now, about 35 to 40.
Sweet.
And so we're in the midst of that, meeting with them weekly, trying to help them understand the mission and to growing it and how to live missionally.
Very cool. Very cool. That's exciting. And you said you've been there about a year, roughly?
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
So family moved in March of 23, and it was a long journey. We came up in the middle of a snowstorm from Iowa, northwest Iowa. Took us about 14 hours to get home to Michigan.
Wow. So Michigan's home, but you were in Iowa. How long were you in Iowa for?
Yeah. So Iowa since 2018, and then 2018, 2023, so about 5 years.
Cool.
Yeah.
What were you doing there?
Oh, man. We did a bunch. It was great. Went out there as a youth pastor, pastored at a non-denominational church out there for a couple of years, and then left that church to go plant another church in a neighboring city, and a city of about 2,000 people. A lot different than Cadillac and Traverse City. And, we loved it. It was great, but just had a yearning and longing for home.
Okay, very cool. So so take us back then. Give us a story. Give us more or less like the Lance. How did you get here kind of story? What's your Jesus story? What's your family story? How did God guide you to where you are now?
Yeah. So grew up in a pretty churched home. We went to church every Sunday and Wednesday and went to a big church down in the Kentwood area that a lot of Wesleyans know as Kentwood Community Church. And grew up under Dr. Wayne Schmidt, phenomenal guy, love him to death.
Absolutely.
And really just was shepherded and really guided there. Parents went through a pretty rough divorce, 7th and 8th grade, and that's when God really started to work on me. Had a lot of anger, and I'm, a small guy, so anger and in my size is always fun, right, with people. So, God just started working, and I had a couple guys in the youth group throughout high school who really just took me under their wing, and one guy would literally pick me up. We called him Big House. His name is Big House. Phenomenal guy. And he'd pick me up and move me and wrestle me. And God just worked through them to help me to learn what he had for me. And throughout mission trips and growing up in the youth group, he just continually revealed what he was planning for me. I never really, at an early age, I believed. Like, I prayed the prayer, I walked with Christ, all that. But it was really throughout high school that I really started to own my faith. And he started to call me into ministry at a young age, ran from it for years. And, it was good times. So.
Were those guys they were other students, or were they like youth leaders?
Adults.
Okay.
Yeah, so adults who are still in my life quite a bit now. One of them is lead pastor of a church in Hudsonville, Michigan. His name's Jeff Eckert, phenomenal guy. Another one is no lead pastor in Festus, Missouri. It's not a foot fungus. So Festus. And it's phenomenal. So, and then another one is he works for Athletes in Action, and that's Big House, or Steve Anderson. So
very cool. That's cool. So so what did that look like? You felt this call to ministry. You said you ran for years. What did the running way look like?
Yeah, I would just say for me it was really like I knew God wanted me, like he was leading me and he was calling me in that. Went to college, and actually like my claim to fame, if you will, was I failed out of Grand Rapids Community College. So it is possible to get.
It is possible.
Fail
well
out
done.
That's a resume for sure.
Yeah, resume builder. But just really didn't take school seriously, didn't take my faith seriously, and just really had to learn. Throughout high school, I was like, oh, I'm on fire and everything, and college hit, and as a guy, college hits, and like, oh, let's go have fun, let's party, and do our things that we want to do, and hang out, and so, running from my call was really I found joy in work, but I hated what I did. So I was driving a truck, a semi, and that, and didn't like it. Was a garbage man. And it just kept, for me, I just kept feeling God pressing in, like, let me do it. Let me guide you. Let me direct you. And finally let go. And then next thing I know, I'm getting a phone call, and we're moving to Iowa. It was crazy.
Wow. That's super cool. So, I mean, I'm always curious about that because we're all familiar with there's ways to run from God. Obviously, there's people that just run from the presence of God in their lives, and they rebel and they run into sin. There's other people that just run from what they know he's asking them to be or do.
Yeah.
And they run from his will, I guess would be the more Christianese way to say it. They run out of his plan. And there's probably a lot of people that feel that unsettling. Do you remember what that felt like? Like what were the things you're like, man, I know this isn't where I'm supposed to be, but how do you remember that playing out? Yeah.
A lot of my running was gravitating towards really money. I love toys, the bikes, the motorcycles, or the boats, everything. I just love those things. And so for me, really just having that above God in some regards. And looking back now, I look back and I'm like, man, the weight and the just the hardship that I really put my family through. And, I had a pretty good grasp on my anger, but yet I was still I felt that, as Bruce Banner says, right, for the Hulk, like, I'm always angry. That's my secret. Like, I just always felt that, just annoyed, irritated. And, it was because I wasn't doing what I was called to do.
Interesting.
And so that's really, for me, what it felt like. And there are some days where I look back, I'm like, man, why would you ever run, right? Yeah. But we do, because we think we know better, and we quickly get humbled.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, it's like a tension that you're holding, and I think it's like almost like you said, like that tension just like breeds anger, and it's really easy to kind of fall into the, well, what I'm doing is working, whether I'm satisfied or not. It's getting the job done. So what did letting go look like then? Like when you use that term, like what was it? Was there a day where just like clicked? You're like, okay, I got to go this way, or what was, there's a process to it?
Yeah. So that it was really a day. So I had a good buddy die of a sudden heart attack at the age of 26. And I'll never forget it, because I usually don't silence my phone, but I was like, I'm really tired. I'm going to just put my phone on vibrate so I don't hear it. My wife went to work. She came home early, woke me up, and I was like, why are you waking me up? I'm tired. Like, let me sleep. And she's like, hey, Andy died. I'm like, what? Wow. And it just kind of took me back. Took a couple days off of work and actually lost my job in the process. And in the process, to make it really, God really humbled me in this, because we were trying to adopt two of our 3 kids. And one of the things is, well, you need a steady income. Yeah. Well, I just lost my job. So now, I have a good buddy die, just lost my job. I'm running from, my calling, and I know that. And so I just was in my home office, we called it. And it really wasn't an office. It was just a little desk and a chair that I was just looking out the window. And
for tax purposes, it's an office, right?
Yeah, we'll go with that. And just reading the Bible, and I don't remember what it was, but I just hit my knees and just started sobbing and crying, and just repenting of that running, and laying in that front room of 3691 Flamingo Avenue. That's the address of the house. And I just said, God, I'm done. If you want this whole thing, if you want me to be in ministry, if you want me to do this, it has to be you. Because I've tried my way. It's not working. So if you want it, you got to do it all. And later that night, my phone rings. And I'm like, who's calling me from Northwest Iowa? Yeah. My wife's like, oh, remember that church put a resume in? I'm like, I don't want to go to Iowa. I want Florida, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, God worked in it. And
so you were, in some ways you were dipping your toe into the ministry water then, if you're throwing resumes out and things like that. Yeah. But it was nothing. I'm hearing you say there's nothing that you were truly pursuing.
Yeah, over the years leading up to that, I was an interim youth director at Kentwood Community Church's Wyoming campus for a season there. And then I was an interim youth director at Compass Church down in Byron Center, which is now the Center Church. Yeah. And, kind of was like...
Was that Gorvette?
John Gorvette was there.
He was there, right?
I was there. So I came in when Chad McCullum was still there. Okay. And then Chad left. And then a gentleman named Lensky, I can't even say his last name. It's so complicated. Lorenz, Llorne. Yeah. Okay. And so under Lensky, I came in and was the interim youth director there.
Sorry to rabbit trail. My brother was there for a minute doing stuff. So, anyways, go on.
Yeah, so just interim youth director on and off, and but nothing was really leading. Now I was like, I want to be full time. I don't like driving a truck. I don't want to be that old fat trucker. And no, I'm just old and and slightly overweight, as my wife tells me. But yeah, just really for me, it was I was dipping my toe in, like you said. Yeah. We put resumes out. We knew that's what the Lord was leading us to do, but we never anticipated really what He was going to do in that season. So, yeah,
that's super cool. And obviously, I think for anyone listening, we're very familiar with the most common running story in the Bible is that the story of Jonah running from what God's asking him to do, and there's that point when they're on the boat, the storm is raging, and there's really we don't read of any real hesitation from Jonah to be like, yeah, this is because of me. So, he knew that he was running from God. He knew that it was creating the turmoil of the storm. And I think for a lot of people, trying to find the source of that internal conflict, it does manifest itself as anger or frustration, but it's that constant pit of unsettling that happens when we are outside of the will of God.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And it's just a place that for some reason in our human stubbornness, we fight, we battle. Maybe we think we know better. Maybe we think, well, it's going to go against all my dreams. I find that a lot. I don't know if you guys do or not, but some people they're so ready to surrender a lot of things to Jesus, but they're not ready to surrender their dreams.
Mm.
And it's like, your dreams are probably, one, they're probably not going to happen the way you think they're going to, but I guarantee they will pale in comparison to the experience of walking out God's will for your life and what you feel. It may not look anything like what you're imagining, but I mean, you're not going to find peace, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how much, what would you guys say is the percentage of people, the bulk of what they do, if it really comes down to nuts and bolts, is looking for some version of peace?
Yeah, it depends on your definition of peace too, because for a lot, is peace just a comfort? Like, I'm comfortable, so I'm at peace. Like, there's some of that tied to it.
Or peace of mind.
Yeah.
If I earn enough money, I don't have to worry about bills. That's peace of mind.
Yep.
If I have the right relationship, I won't be lonely.
Yeah.
Peace in my heart. I'm not alone.
Yep.
If my kids are doing the right thing and everyone respects me, think about how many things it's just it's to remove the unsettlement, and that's inner conflict.
Yeah.
And we know this. I mean, probably all three of us from our own failed attempts at fake peace, that the only peace is found in contentment in God's will.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that eludes us so much. And I speak from experience of everything I want can be found if I'll just surrender to God and trust and celebrate the story He's writing.
Yeah.
Rather than fight against it and battle and push back like, but I don't want this. And obviously the comparison game comes into play,
Oh, yeah.
Social media has completely destroyed our pursuit of contentment.
Yeah.
And it's just so cool. So, all right, so you go through all that, and then you surrender. God's going to call you into ministry, and then to make things extra easy, He calls you to church planting.
Yeah. So we were, the joys, right? No, it's good. We were, in the midst of, I'd felt this release from the church that we're at.
Yeah.
And in that, I was like, okay, well, what does that mean? So I just started praying. I love to drive, and so I just started praying, just driving and praying. And I kept being led to this one school district. So we, just kind of opened the doors there and said, okay, God, why are we being in this school district and that? And He just revealed to us why, and it was because He's like, I want a church that's gonna be the church here. And I was like, oh, all right, well, let's roll. And so we planted there, and it was great. And
did you have like a mother church that sent you, or how did you guys end up doing that process?
Yes and no. We had the church that I was youth pastor at. They sent us a couple families. Anyone that wanted to go, they said go ahead and go do it. And then a little bit of financial backing, and but really my wife and I were like, hey, it's at the time a family of 4. Let's roll. And the first month, nobody showed up for anything. So we're sitting there going, oh man, did we make a mistake? Like, we're not getting paid. There's no money here. And I'm like, I'm left for money. I'm like, what am I doing, Lord?
Yeah.
And He provided time and time again. And
cool.
So it was good. And then, that church plant was going well, and we were enjoying it, and really made some good connections in the community. And I had a gentleman come from Lamont, Kansas, who was like, man, your heart's not here. Oh. And his name's Steve McVeigh. And I don't know, Steve, if you'll listen to this or not, but that was hard, and I was like, well, what do you mean my heart's not here? He's like, I want you to pray about it. We'll talk in a week. I'm like, oh, okay. And, the Lord just revealed, like, my heart wasn't in Iowa anymore. That I longed to be home. So I just started processing that. And it was interesting because my younger brother was pastoring out in Philadelphia at the time. He moved to Philly about a month before we moved. Actually, a week before we moved to Iowa. I helped him move, flew back, hopped in my car in our big old box truck, and moved to Iowa. And so I'm just talking with him once in a while, right? And he's like, dude, I'm moving back to Michigan. And I'm like, dude, no way. I'm like, that's awesome. And then I'm like, well, I think we're moving back too.
Yeah.
He's like, that's crazy. So that was crazy how God worked, and we ended up hooking up with Dighton Wesleyan Church down there, and the Lord just opened up a bunch of doors for us to church plant in Cadillac, and yeah, it's been good. So
very cool. So what is it about church planting that has just really been part of your calling? Because not a lot of pastors have probably done it. I've done it once, and so I sort of appreciate the extreme highs that come with it. I appreciate the extreme lows that come with it. I've often told people that church planting is the most rewarding and at the same time the most challenging thing I've ever done. And I've also learned never to tell God never, so I'm not gonna say I'll never do it again. But I don't. I mean, I think I discovered through it all. I'm not the guy that's gonna go plant church, move on, plant. Some guys are amazing at that. So you're here to do it a second time. What is it about church planting that just fuels the passion in your heart?
Yeah, it's actually funny. Coming out of the church plant in Iowa, I was it was going well. We were happy there, but I was a little bitter. I'm like, man, I just started this church. So I actually told God no. It's like, no, I want church plant again. And, he's like, oh, you're funny. Like how God does. Oh, you're cute. Listen, watch. And so, man, I what I like about it is, one, my wife's like, you're a quick adapter. And I'm also a quick discerner. And so for me, church planting is so on the fly sometimes. Like, you have to make decisions so quick and honestly sometimes change course in the drop of a hat. And the entrepreneurial in it, I love it because I can, do what the Lord's calling us to do, shape and mold the culture of the congregation, really. And but man, honestly, right now we're in this great season of just seeing transformation. People who have maybe walked with Christ in the past, walked in a church, been in a church, and have walked away for a season, being transformed, coming back and just seeing that, and something is engaging in them again, and watching that spark happen. And that's really amazing for us. We, sitting with some people who we would say are very, very far from Christ and may have never, even crossed that line of faith, and seeing them starting to question, like, well, why would you do this or that? And why would you not do this or that?
Right.
And why how come when situations arise, you answer this way or you act that way? And, when I want to throat punch someone, how come you're just like calm? And so that for us is really cool. Seeing non-church people, non-Christians, non-believers starting to question, and then watching them, their minds, as it talks about Romans, being transformed and renewed. So.
That's super cool. Super cool. So, what are some of the things, maybe some of the challenges, or some of the grind of where you are now and what you guys are going through in Cadillac?
Oh man, well, how much time we got? I'm just kidding.
Plenty of time.
It's man, the grind right now in Cadillac is interesting. We came into town with the understanding that 62% of people claimed no religious affiliation, and we're like, man, that's a huge number. That's a high number, right? And over the last year, we really processed and talked with people and found that it's really more of, I'd say 45 to 50% of people have just walked away from their faith. And so for us, the challenge is, well, what makes you different? What makes you this different church that is going to act any different than any other church in the community? Cadillac is home to well over 30 churches. And, you can throw a rock and hit one on any corner, it seems like. And then there's more churches being planted. I just found out about a third church plant within the last year that's planting now.
Wow.
And so why? Why would you go to a different church? Why would you come to this church when I've been to that church? It doesn't do anything for me, as people would say, right?
Yeah.
So that's a huge challenge. It's just breaking down those walls. And, the name of our church, we didn't plan it this way, but it's called ReChurch, ReChurch. And it's interesting because for me, I tell people, like, we're here to help people reimagine what church is. That's good. Not you come in the seats or the pews and you be quiet, you take it in, you go out, and nothing changes. But it's that you are being renewed, reminded of who God is in your life, and rejuvenated, reborn, any word that you can think of. And I tell people, I want you to reimagine what does church mean to you? And how we are the church, how we act, how we love, how we care for people, how we talk. And Cadillac is starting to see that in what we're doing. We're very, very community service oriented. We want to serve the community, love the community well, and help people to just come to know him and be reborn.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah.
Super cool. I mean, I'm not super familiar with Cadillac, but I know that there is just kind of the general recognition that it's a great community with a lot of great people, and it's interesting. I didn't realize there was that many churches there, but there's a perceived need of like, hey, man, they need the light of the gospel. They need this.
Yeah,
and so I think it's a big part of it.
Yeah, and there's a ton of churches there, and you have to really drive around because a lot of them are like up on a hill and hidden in the middle of plain sight, if you will, and but for us, I look at, and I'm not, I just look around Cadillac, and you drive around on a Sunday morning, and I love driving around on Sunday mornings because you see people out there shoveling, in the winter, mowing their lawns, weed whacking, and you see all those people who are not in church, and we're like, we have all these churches, but people aren't going. Why is that? And it's just because of hurt or baggage and all that. So,
go ahead.
Well, was there? I don't know if you've said this, but was there a specific draw to Cadillac? Because home was technically the Grand Rapids, Kentwood area.
Correct. Yeah.
So, what was that? Did you know when you left Iowa you were going directly to Cadillac? What was that little?
Yeah, that's a crazy story. So we in Iowa. We applied to be youth pastors because I'm like, I can go back to youth ministry. It's easy, convenient, right? And God shut a bunch of doors. I'm like, we'll be a campus pastor. Shut that door. And I'm like, man, God, no. And the one door that always remained open was planting in Cadillac, Michigan. And, like I said earlier, I told God, no, I don't want a church plant again. There's no money in it. There's nothing there. And he's really humbled me in the money, if you can't tell already. And my wife laughed. She's like, if you would just stop loving money so much. I'm like, I know, it's crazy.
He'll give you more of it.
Yeah. So that door kept staying open. Wife and I came out the whole family came out Christmas of 22 and interviewed at a couple spots. And obviously got shut those doors and met with Jim Goulash down at Dighton Wesleyan, and my wife and I.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a church we're planting out of. That's our mother church, and our ascending church as well. And God just connected us. It was phenomenal, and we left that meeting both looking at each other like, okay, well, that's not so bad. We could see them hanging out with us, right? And God just continued to open that door. So the draw to Cadillac at the time was just an open door, and walking slowly through that open door, very cautiously, and but over the last year, we've just continually okay, God, it's an open door here, open door there. And the school system, we've had an open door a little bit there. And it's been interesting to see how just our faithfulness of just walking through an open door, even when we were resistant, we didn't want to, how he's just blessed it.
Very cool.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So if someone's listening from the Cadillac area and they don't have a church, what are some things they could be watching for from ReChurch?
In the
coming months or so.
Yeah, so we meet weekly with our launch team, and everybody's always welcome to come to that. We love having people come, visitors coming to that, and but we have coming up on June 9. It's called Back to the Bricks. So the city puts on or has partnered with this car show thing. I'm not a car guy. I love looking at them. I love driving them. But I don't know, this is a Camaro, 67 Camaro, whatever. Like, I don't like a car, but it's kind of cool. But I'm not a big, engine and all. People are like, that's a dual Hemi. I'm like, what does that mean? So we'll be doing a service partnered with them for that. And so watch our Facebook and our Instagram for information on that. As well as July 4th, we're going to be doing a lot of just fun things around the Freedom Festival that's down there. And
So you'll have a presence at some of the big events going on in Cadillac.
Yeah, yep.
And do you guys have a launch date, an official launch date in mind, or are you still kind of building towards that?
Yeah, so September 8th is our official launch. Cool. And man, this rocket, it's been fueled up for a while, and we're ready to light that fuse. We're ready to watch it go, and we're pumped. So September 8th, we're gonna launch it, and it's gonna be fun. We're praying and we're hoping, that God just does something amazing there, and we know He will.
Yeah.
And for months we prayed, all right, God, send us this number of people, and God's just really humbled me and walked with me and said, no, I'm gonna send who I want to send, and it may be 5 people, it may be 5,000, it may be no one, but let me send who I want.
Yeah.
And it's been cool to just take a step back and say, okay, Lord, whoever you give us, we're going to be faithful, and we're going to walk in that. And, we're big into people who are kind of, I won't say the outcasts, but people who feel like they're not welcomed in churches. We had an individual reach out and say, oh, I got tattoos, you don't want me there. And my wife's like, how do you want me to respond to that? I'm like, tell them I got one, right? Like, and before you guys hate or, say anything, tattoos are okay. They're holy.
Maybe offer free tattoos at the grand opening.
Ooh, I like that.
There you go.
My wife might not.
Free
but
tattoos
like
right in the lobby. Come on in. We got multiple tattoo artists. Come on in. Get what you want.
I like that.
We might lose some staff to that. Like, I think Brock would head down there for that. So, no, that's super cool. So, September 8th, launch. You guys have a location yet, or are you still kind of figuring that out?
Yeah, so we'll be using Mackinac Trail Middle School.
Okay.
And it's right off 115 on Mackinac Trail. And so it's a middle school there in Cadillac, and we're meeting in the cafeteria there. It's a big open area with a lot of seating, so we don't have to set up and tear down chairs, which for every church planter, that's a blessing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, church planners love that tagline. You don't have to set up and tear down as much. So
yeah.
Well, what we'll do is we'll make sure and have Brock drop your Facebook link in our comment section so people can get directly to that. And yeah, hey, listen, I've spent time with Lance over the last several months, and if you are in the Cadillac area, of anywhere in that vicinity, and you don't have a church home, and maybe you did. And I think that D-church community is much larger than we realize.
Oh, absolutely.
As a church, we often talk about reaching the unchurched, which is obviously very important. But unchurched, at least to me, is described as someone who has never really been to church, has no church history, no background, no experience with church. That's unchurched. But D-churched is a lot of people who, whether it's for a long period of time or short period of time, went to a church, whether it was with mom and dad or grandma and grandpa, and experienced something that hurt them, disappointed them, let them down, and they made the choice to leave.
Yeah.
And there's so many people that sit at home or are mowing their grass or snow blowing their driveway every Sunday. It's not that they don't know about church or know of a church. They literally have made the conscious choice, I'm not going.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's because they've been hurt. It's because they've been let down and disappointed. And I mean, if you're listening and that's you, and somehow you found your way to this podcast, first of all, I think it's 3 pastors at the table allow us to say, we're really sorry.
Yeah.
We're sorry you were hurt. It happens. Unfortunately, it happens. And a big part of the reason is that the church is filled with and run by imperfect people.
Mm-hmm.
Like we just are. We're not perfect. And as pastors, we're going to make mistakes. As pastors, we're going to make a bad call. We're going to have poor reactions at times. We're going to have bad attitudes. We're going to have bad days. And not that that's an excuse. I'm just saying it's part of what comes with the whole thing. But just because of that, don't let that ruin what this was meant to be. This is not even our plan. People talk about church all the time, like, oh, it's not relevant anymore. Well, that's not even up for debate. This is Jesus's plan. In fact, he says, "This is my bride."
Yeah.
The church is his bride, and that obviously that takes a lot of different forms: house church, big church, small church, whatever. That's irregardless. But don't give up on Jesus.
Yeah.
Don't give up on the need to be with people. Don't give up on the power of a church community around you, and you need it. We all need it. And so I would encourage you, if you're looking for some place, if you're in the Cadillac area, man, check out ReChurch. Find their Facebook page, track them down at some of these big events coming up, and it'd be cool. If you're in the Traverse City area, hey, a lot of great rockin' churches in our area. Love a lot of the pastors here and a lot of great things. If you don't have a church, we'd love to see it at Bayview. Come check it out. Maybe we're the right fit. Maybe we're not. If we're not, we will help you find a church that is the right fit for you. because that's the bigger goal. Making sure you're in a place where you're growing, you're hearing the word, and doing it with great people.
Yeah.
So cool.
Sweet.
Lance, thank you for being with us, man.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. And it's great to be in the Bayview house and to be able to look over the water.
Yes.
Beautiful.
That is a huge win right now when it's not covered in snow and ice and sadness. So
sadness
and despair.
Come on now.
The despair of winter. So no, we're in good days right now for sure, and beautiful place to live. So hey, thank you so much for spending a little bit of your time with us. We appreciate that. We love this time with you. Hopefully this is a little bit of encouragement for you today. If you have not done so, make sure and click subscribe, whatever platform you're listening on. We're available on all the major platforms. We just don't want you to ever miss an episode. And so we're going to be here each and every Wednesday with you, and appreciate you being here. So today, it's Andrew, it's Chris, it's Lance. Thanks for being with us on the Bayview Podcast, and we'll see you next time around.